Hello, I'm Ruby from the Useful Journal. I am back today with my second washi tape video that covers 10 more ideas on how to use washi tape, and I've already done a previous video with 10 ideas and I have another one to come. So please subscribe if you want to see more ideas. As you might have noticed from the first video, some of the ideas are really easy and some of them are more complex and take a lot more time to do. The same goes for the ideas I'm going to show you in this video. Some of them are very simple and some of them take a lot more time. Make sure you stick around for the last idea in this video because it is something special and I am so proud of how it turned out. As you might know from my first video, my theme for the month was Knights and Dragons. Okay, first up I had a mood tracker and I loaded several shelves with trophies. I did a colour to represent 4 different moods. My green washi was for a good happy day, down to a red washi which was for a bad day. And I put a key at the bottom of the page. So for this technique, you'll need 4 colours of washi tape. You'll also need an X-Acto knife and you'll be cutting straight into your journal. So this time you won't need a cutting mat, but it's always not a bad idea to put a cutting mat behind the page, just in case you cut through. You don't want to cut through more than one page. I find this technique works best with a pen outline. The pen means that you can see where to cut with your knife once you've stuck some washi tape over the top. The other thing that helps is having transparent washies. Use tweezers to pull away the spare washi tape from outside your picture. And then I simplified it by just using coloured pencils to colour in the stems or the arms of the trophies. The second technique is very simple, but I just wanted to demonstrate how you can turn corners with washi. So I've used washi as a path to show progress in exercise. The idea is that you lay your washi down on the horizontal lines and the vertical lines, and then you lay a small piece of washi tape across the corner and trim that piece so that it looks like a curved corner. Then what I did with the path is simply used very small pieces of washi tape as crossbars to show when I had done something. The third technique in this video is to use a die cut washi. The die cut means that the tape has been cut by a machine in manufacturing and all you're left with on your tape, when you peel it off, you get just the shape you want. You don't just get a straight edge with spare colour around the edges. This beautiful tape from Altenew has been cut along the edge of the flowers and the leaves. For this page, I cut the washi tape to the length of the page and then trimmed around the flower at the ends so that it didn't end halfway through a flower. I wanted there, because you have the die cut finish on the sides, it's nice to have a similar die cut finish around the bottom and top. Die cut tapes always come on a backing tape, or usually come on a backing tape, so that means cutting with scissors is quite simple. While they're expensive, they really add to your page and look absolutely stunning. So I have previously used washi tape gradients for a whole month, and I made gradients by using different coloured washi tapes and then placed a black silhouette on it and it looked beautiful. This particular page, so I've gone from a gradient of a very pale lime green through to a dark red, and there's not that many greens, there's a few yellows, oranges, and then there's like a few different shades of red. and I've taken it from this collection. So this is my yellows and reds collection, and some of my yellowy greens are in here as well. So there's that one. And it's important, like you kind of need to have a reasonable collection of washi tapes to get the gradient you need. The technique really doesn't work if you're skipping straight from one colour to the next. There needs to be a gradual shift. The gradient is achieved by making sure that the next colour you use has a little bit of the previous colour and a little bit of the next colour. It's up to you whether you cut a shape out of that gradient like I did on this page, because I wanted to be able to write in that shape, and you'll see I've done the gradient right to the edges. Or you could also cut around the tapes to create a picture, a bit like in this page that you've seen previously where I've created flames. You could easily have laid gradient and then cut out that flame shape. Okay, this next idea was inspired by the washi tape bunting that you see everywhere online. It's a very popular idea. I have used it a little bit differently, but it's essentially the same as what everyone else does. So here it is. All you need are some bright washi tapes and a piece of string, or in this case I've just used sewing cotton. You'll need scissors, and that's it. That's all you need. Cut your washi tape into 2 centimetre lengths and then fold it over your string or your thread, and then you'll end up with square tabs, and you can keep it like that, or you can do what I did and use your scissors to cut it into triangles so that it looks like actual bunting. Then what I did was to attach the string to the page. I have just a little bit of thin washi in the side, middle and end, up to you where you're attaching it, but that's how I attach my string to the page. I do recommend using a fairly straight drape, because as you can see they do move around a bit, and what's happened with mine is because they move around, oh that just came out, because they move around, when you close your journal they do get folded and they can get damaged. So the flatter you have it, which means having a straighter line, the more they're going to stay in place. This page was a washi tape border. So I've put the washi tape around the outside of the page. Now any tape that has a pattern that can be cut away to make it, any tape that has a pattern that can be cut away to make it kind of interesting as a border would suit for this. I've used this one. Here's another example. This one is a bit thick but gives you the idea of what I'm talking about. So you can see that it has an image, and you could stick this, particularly if you just want a bottom border, you could just cut along the tops of the mountains and the trees and you'd have a nice border on your page. What I did with my box pattern, it's a tile pattern actually, was to make it more interesting. I cut away at different spots so that sometimes my border was 1 tile wide and sometimes it was 3 tiles wide. So, and then sometimes I've left I've left a gap, but there is still a bit of the edge in there. So you can see I've varied the width of the tape, and that actually meant that I could use less tape because I could basically use half the width that I'd cut away on other sides. Cutting it away, you could, if it's got a backing tape like this one does, then it's probably easier to do with scissors. If it doesn't have a backing tape, it gets a bit fiddly and it'll get bent and ripped and whatever else. So you're probably better, if it doesn't have the backing tape, to stick it to a cutting board and then use your knife to cut the shape that you want. But particularly for something like this where you've got an unusual edge that might be a little bit harder to do with scissors. So while I was doing this month of washi, I was also participating at the time in a monthly lettering challenge for mental health. And what I did for this month, because I was doing a washi month, I decided to do washi lettering. The theme of that month was every mountain is conquered by taking one step after another. I really love that quote, and I just think it's so true. Instead of cutting strips of washi tape and building letters, I decided to cut the letters out of the washi tape. So that involved using a lead pencil and drawing the letters onto the tape, and then using a knife and a cutting board to cut around those letters. It was quite tricky. Obviously you've got some very small pieces, and the other thing I had to do was I wanted it to be one piece. I didn't want to do individual letters, which meant that they had to be joined. So this first one, you can see the letters actually touch up against each other. This one, Conquered, actually has tiny little tabs between each letter so that they get joined together, but it doesn't take away from the look of the word at all. And then in this case, I did cursive writing that was quite a bit trickier. I'm sure you're working out by now that there's some really cool ways to use washi tape in your journal. Please subscribe so that you can hear my awesome 10 ideas that are going to follow in my next video. I don't want you to miss it. The next one I'm going to show you is a tip-in. Tip-ins are a very popular way of adding an extra page to your journal. Sometimes people do it when it's in December and they just need a couple more pages to get them through the year so that they can then start a new journal in January. In this case, I have added an envelope so that I could hide some stuff in it. You attach your washi tape along the long edge of the envelope, not the page. Then you push the envelope into the spine as far as you can with that bit of washi tape hanging over, and when it's in the spine and deep in, then you can stick down the other half of that washi tape. So you should have half of the width of the washi tape on your tip-in and half of it on your page. You may choose to do something really invisible, but I like it with washi tape. It's nice to show off a particular tape. Then you flip it over, and on the other side you put half the width of your washi tape on the back of your tip-in, so my envelope. What you need to do then is find something. It could be a fingernail. I don't have fingernails, but it could just be a pen or something that's not going to mark it, and you push that tape into the spine so that it's right in there, because otherwise you'll end up with the tip-in sitting up a little bit, and then you can stick down the other half. In this case, it was kind of running onto my next page, so I've obviously cut away some of the width. It still works. You don't need a lot sticking onto the next page of your journal. And you can see that flips back and forth, and it's a really handy way of doing it. Now, in that envelope is my 19th idea, the 9th idea for this video. And what I did there was an waterfall edge. I have chosen 4 washi tapes from the same set that are different but similar. In this case, I chose a 2 centimeter wide washi tape, and that allowed me to have 1 centimeter on each side of my insert into my envelope. So then you need to cut your pages slightly narrower than the one below it so that you can see all 4 of the edges on the edge. And you can do this to just normal journal pages as well. It looks really lovely. And it gives it a marked edge as well, which we've talked about before. So I've got my 4 inserts. Each one is slightly wider than the one above it. The colour goes on the back as well. And then what you can do, you might choose to have a straight edge and straight corners, I have chosen to curve my corners, round them so that each one is trimmed. The other thing you could do is just round the last one and keep the others straight so that they blend in. And yeah, it'll obviously stand out more if you use very different colours of washi tape, but it's a really lovely effect, looks fantastic in a journal. And then when I slip them into my envelope, it means that I can access all of them because each one is accessible. So it's just a handy way of doing it. Oh, the big finish. And this, I love this page, and it's a technique I absolutely love doing. It's one of my favorite techniques, but it is intensely time consuming and very fiddly, but looks amazing and I love feeling it. So I'll show you in a sec. I have used a cut washi effect a few times. Draw your picture on the page in pencil and then use an artist's eraser to take away most of the lead so that there's not too much left, but you can still see the shape that you're filling in. You don't need to have 100% of the detail because you are basically colouring in with washi tape, but you do need to mark out critical features. In this case, I have done a drawing of 2 dragons, and I needed to mark out the wings, the legs, the head, just to make sure that I didn't miss those important details. You'll need a cutting mat and an X-Acto knife. Then you lay strips of washi on your cutting mat and you cut. Have a close look at this, I'll show it really close. I wanted to represent the scales of the dragon, so I cut out tiny little kind of teardrop shapes and stuck them over each other to get a scale type effect. I used some larger pieces for the wings and for the legs because they didn't need those scales, and they actually I wanted them to look a bit more solid. And also it means that they contrast better with the rest of the body if they're a slightly different technique. I have hand drawn the eyes just to get a better result. Mostly I like this technique for feathers and scales. It would look good on fish and birds, things like that. It would probably also work well for a person's hair, but it's just a really beautiful result. And yeah, I've done a few other pictures. You'll see on my YouTube, I have a video of an eagle I did with this technique. I hope these 10 ideas have inspired you, but I am not even close to finished. The 10 ideas I have coming up are, there's a few simple ones, but there's some really exciting ones in there that I haven't tried before, and one of them that I will probably not try again. If you missed ideas 1 to 10, make sure you check out that video. There's a mix of techniques in there as well. And please stay posted for the next one. And don't forget to like and subscribe my page. Thank you. See you later.